What's up guys, welcome to Flips and Bricks. I'm Pete Forrester. Today we're talking about where to cop your shoes, where to sell them, and the pros and cons of all the different platforms where you can do that. Plus, a little bit later on in the episode, we have an interview with Josh Luber, the CEO and co-founder of StockX. So let's not waste any more time. Okay guys, the top headline of the day is a Kanye alert. It's our first Kanye alert. So we have the news about the release date of the newest Yeezy, which is the Kanye West Adidas Yeezy 350 V2 Beluga 2.0. Yes, I got it. The release date is November 25th. So everyone screw your heads back on. You got a couple weeks to prep, your bots, get in line, and do all that so you can cop this shoe. So if you want to make this work, to either buy something at a good price or sell it for an even better price, obviously the first thing you're going to have to do is get it at retail. And if you're one of the very few lucky people to get it at retail, that means that you're, one of the first couple of people in line, or maybe you have a bot, you have a really fast trigger finger online. But if that's not you and you're looking to buy the product anyway, you're probably going to have to get it secondhand. And that opens up this whole other world of platforms to buy product on. We're talking about eBay, StockX, Grailed, P2P, that's, interacting with human beings, which is always terrible. And all these have all these different kinds of factors. We're talking about quality, speed, price, and then of course, most importantly, the authenticity, whether you're buying a real product or not, and how can you be sure if that's even happening until it's in your hands. So let's go through all of them. Let's mark them all off on where they hit on all these different qualities so that you can make sure that you're using the platform that is best for what you need. So here on our whiteboard, we've got all the different platforms that we can be buying or selling on. We're talking about eBay, StockX, Grailed, P2P, retail. So P2P, this is when a human being is interacting with another human being. So that could be a Facebook group, it could be a GOAT app. Anything that doesn't fit neatly into one of these, it's probably a human-to-human interaction. Now, we're gonna grade these on authentication, market pricing, speed, which is the speed at which you can buy and sell, quality, interacting with humans, and the shipping element. Now, let's start with eBay. With eBay, when you're buying something, is it going to be authentic? You don't know. Now, when you're dealing with eBay, you're also dealing with PayPal, who PayPal claims that if you can prove that something is inauthentic, they'll give you the money back, but there's nobody actually doing the authentication, so they're just taking the word of the buyer, and they're always going to end up siding with the buyer. So if you're trying to sell something and you're afraid that somebody's gonna scam you through authentication, eBay is not the place for you. Again, with market pricing on eBay, people just make up whatever numbers they want. Where eBay really wins is with speed, because you can post things really quickly, you can sell things really quickly, and that's basically it. In terms of quality, you never really know what you're gonna get. There are photos, but who knows? You have to be interacting with humans all the time. It's total human-to-human interaction. And in terms of shipping, it depends on how long it's gonna take that person to ship, so that sucks too. So with StockX, StockX is the only platform that you can make sure they are checking on their own to see if what they are sending you is authentic. You are buying it from another person, they're not selling it to you directly, but they do stop over, check out the product, and make sure it's authentic before they send it to you. You always know that it is the fair market price for what you're getting. So if you're a buyer, you're not gonna be paying too much, but also if you're a seller, you're not gonna get over what market price is, so you can always be sure that this is a fair interaction. In terms of buying and selling really quickly, this on StockX, that's good too, because you don't have to take any photos, you just put up what your size is and how much money that you want. And if someone's offering you something that you are liking in terms of price, you can just take it. It takes less than 15 seconds. Quality on StockX, everything is never been worn. So the shoe is always gonna be good. You don't have to deal with humans at any point unless there's a problem. The only thing is shipping can take a little extra time because you are sending it to them and they are authenticating it first. Now Grailed, Grailed does not do authentication like StockX does, but Grailed has their own policy aside from PayPal, where if you speak to them and you can prove to them that the product you got was inauthentic, they'll help you out. It's sort of in between. You'll be protected, but it's not 100%. Market pricing is like eBay. It's not always gonna be fair. It's what people are asking for. Speed, you gotta take pictures, you gotta post it up, you gotta write a description, meh. Quality, what you see is what you get. You do have to deal with humans, and shipping can take a while. Now, in terms of P2P, we gotta do this, guys. Don't do this, but it's just a huge risk. You never know if you're going to be getting what you're paying for. I can't tell you how many times I'm on Facebook and they're blasting people for this guy scammed me and I never got this product. If you're looking for a really good deal, that might be where to go, but the risk does not pay off. And then of course, with retail, we always know that with retail, you have full authentication. It is exactly market pricing. It could be the speed if you're not waiting in line too long. Quality will always be 100%. And shipping for most places is pretty fast, but in terms of interacting with humans, that is #1. With all that in mind, there's my pick. You know it, you've seen it on the show. They're one of our partners, StockX. It's got everything. You don't have to deal with human beings. They have fair market pricing and proof of authenticity with every pair they sell. So I got the exclusive opportunity to sit down with the CEO and co-founder of StockX, Josh Luber, in Detroit. What's up, guys? We are here in breezy Detroit with Josh Luber, CEO and co-founder of StockX. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to talk to you about not just what StockX is, but how it came about. I mean, you were basically working, on your own thing in a basement or a garage on a laptop by yourself. I know with a couple friends, and now it's a massive company with hundreds of employees. Can you sort of talk to us about why you decided to make the investment in the time in the first place? And then what the steps were, if there was like a plan to turn it into this big thing, or just how it happened.
Yeah, sure. The image of someone sitting in a dusty old garage working on a laptop is awesome, right? We'll keep that. We'll just pretend like that's what it was. Like at that point in my life, I was married and had a kid. We had like a nice apartment, right? But I was working for IBM as a full-time job, and I'm a startup guy. I've started to run 3 other startups before that. It's a whole long story how I ended up at IBM. But when you're a startup guy and you end up at IBM, the first thing you do is start working on stuff on the side.
Sure.
And so I was doing all this data work at IBM, and that really gave me the idea of, I wonder if I could hold some sneaker data just to play with my own amusement, just to kind of see what I could do with it.
And you had been into sneakers before?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm 39 years old. I have the same story as everyone my age, right?
Sure.
I grew up playing basketball and Jordan played. I always wanted Air Jordans. My mother never buy me Jordans. Like, we all have the exact same story. And I almost intentionally separated business and pleasure. Like, out of fear of creating a business that was just an excuse to play with sneakers. And then this was purely, not even a side hustle, it was a hobby. It was something to do for fun because I liked sneakers and I was doing all this data work, and I thought, can I get some sneaker data just to play with for my own amusement? At the time, this was early 2012, eBay was still the largest sneaker marketplace, so we figured out how to collect eBay data and essentially created a price guide, right?
Sure.
We created this company called Campless, which was the Kelly Blue Book for sneakers. And there was no plan. There was no, this can become what it is today. It was just, it seemed like it would be useful to have this data. It seemed like people in the sneaker industry might be able to benefit from knowing what a sneaker is actually worth.
Sure.
And that was the beginning. And the very short trajectory of how you get here is, once we had a price guide, once we knew the value of one pair of sneakers, we had this idea, well, we could create sneaker portfolios. Right? We could look at someone's entire sneaker collection and tell you the value of their whole sneaker collection. Right. And you could look at that data the way you look at a stock portfolio, right? It's a very logical leap if you know the value of one pair to the value of the whole collection.
Right.
And then the logic was, well, asset pricing, portfolio pricing, stock market. It just kind of what made sense with the data, but I didn't really know how to build that. I'm not a developer, I couldn't have done that. And I was really fortunate to meet Dan Gilbert, who's the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers and Quicken Loans. And ironically, he also had the same idea to build a sneaker stock market. And there's a long backstory to this, but the short of it is that where I was sort of building from the ground up, saying that this would make a lot of sense for sneakers, he kind of came from top down and was saying, you know what, this should be how the whole world works. This should be the future of all e-commerce because it just makes more sense to be able to buy and sell anything the way that we buy and sell stocks. Right. Unfortunately, Dan saw his 15-year-old son buying and selling sneakers on eBay, and that led him down the path of sneakers. And for the two of us to eventually sort of meet in the middle, that we both had this idea at the same time to build literally a sneaker stock market. So that's really how it started.
Right, so you have this idea, Dan has this idea, you guys decide to go into business together, but you can never really be sure if it's gonna work out or not. What was the scariest aspect of that for you?
Getting to that moment of deciding to work with Dan, there were many, many, many moments before where I talked to everybody in the sneaker industry, even tangentially, right? Nike, eBay, Foot Locker, Complex, like you name it, right? I talked to everybody in the sneaker industry around this idea I had for creating a sneaker stock market. And everybody said, oh, that's a really cool idea, right? But, you know, this is our business and we might be able to use your data this way, and our way. And fair enough, right? Like I didn't think Nike was gonna change their business to build a stock market. And so it was almost, when I finally came to Dan, it was like, oh, there's one person that literally has the exact same vision for what I want to do with this. And then they brought me out to Detroit and I saw everything that was going on in Detroit here, and there's this unbelievable environment between all of Dan's companies and how it all works together, that at that point there was literally no level of any scared. It was like, wow, this is absolutely where I'm supposed to be.
Got it. Did you guys have a contingency plan?
Did who have a contingency plan?
I don't know. Did you? Did Dan? Did...
No, we jumped in, you know, full, I mean, all the way, right? I mean, I moved my family, my wife and kids here to Detroit, and we started working on this. And, you know, I think a lot of people become, have this sort of artificial barriers around, oh, well, if I move to this other city or take this job or even marry this person, like, things are pretty easy to undo. You can move back, you can take another job, you can even get divorced, right? Chris Rock has this line where he says, I got married and I thought, I can't leave. Then I had kids and was like, shit, I could have left, right? Like that, you know, with the exception of kids, like there's nothing in your life that you can't change like that and move on. And so no, we were ready to go and go do this, and fortunately it worked out well.
So I think that maybe that's the message here, is that it's like, there's no point in sort of vacillating on whether or not you're going to commit to something, because there's no such thing as a commitment that is forever unless you choose it to be.
Absolutely, right? And I deal with this almost every day in recruiting people to work at StockX. We're up to almost 100 people right now, but 40 plus open job recs. And all the time I hear people in other cities like, you know, I don't really know if I want to move. Like, what's it cost to move? $10,000? You know, you spend, all right, like, it's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal if it doesn't work out to move back to wherever you are or go take another job. And I think once people actually do that, they, you know, get out of their comfort zone and are happy they do that and go for that experience. But I lived in Atlanta for 15 years. I never thought I was going to leave Atlanta. I grew up in Philly and moved to Atlanta. And one day I shut down my last company and it didn't work out. And I needed a job. And a friend said, come and talk to me about a job at IBM. And I never thought I'd work at IBM, and I never thought I'd move to New York, but you know what? Sure. And none of this would have happened if that hadn't happened.
Right. Awesome. Well, that's it. Cool. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it for this episode. Don't forget to tune in next week for some more dope information, interviews, site visits. Stay tuned. It'll be right here.